Hello, everyone. So, this is a psychic reading for March 2021. I'm doing this in the dark because the electricity has been out all day. Actually, since I woke up, it's been out. And so I'm doing it by candlelight. Um, I have to use my phone because I have to apparently use the internet in order to use my recording device, which the internet is down. So, all right. So, March 2021. So, as I was saying in my previous videos, there's been a lot of calming down, at least in the sense of anger, dissipating. But at the same time, there's been this level of tension that hasn't really been going away. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely been feeling it. It's very tense. And I'm seeing that in March. Right now, it's February 15th. But I'm seeing that in March, it will pop. Like that tension will pop. And the way that I saw that was symbolically as an image of like the earth as a globe kind of just popping and like all the tension just dissipating and just like falling down, like kind of like the sense of it melting and just all that tension melting away. I'm also seeing this as humanity taking a big step. I know I sound like a broken record. For the last 2 months or so I've been talking about this shift in energy. Um, but we continue to take big steps, and seeing this being in a different sort of way, where things are more materialized, I guess you could say, than the month of February, where there's more like this stuck kind of energy. I don't remember if I was saying that in the last month. I think that last month I was talking about there being this stuckness kind of energy, which I have been feeling this month. So either way, I think that will be clearing a lot more in March. So, and this is unrelated. I just want to make sure this has nothing to do with politics. This is just the overall energy. But for the month of March in particular, Joe Biden kept showing up. Um, and I was seeing him celebrating for March. Like, there's this sense of accomplishment specifically for March where I see him as shining the brightest, so to speak, during that month, and possibly actually shining the brightest throughout his entire presidency. At least for the next, like, I don't know, like few months, maybe 6 months or so. I see this being like the month where he is like on top of the world, at least in his mind. Um, and he's really proud, and there's a lot of celebration around him and what he's done for March. However, I don't see this lasting forever. Um, I see his framework. It's like he's proud of what he's laying down in the world, but it's this framework that's a little bit, I, I guess you could call it kind of stubborn, maybe idealistic in some aspects, and it's working for him at the moment. I mean, not at the moment now, but in March, it will be really working for him. But as time goes on, like months later, the celebration will slow down, and the stubbornness of like his ideals will kind of start getting in the way of other things. So the candle's going down. Okay, just want to make sure there's some light. And and where was I? So the idealism will kind of become more apparent, and a lot of that's when I see more liberals actually coming after Joe Biden that previously support or now support him, and in March will support him, but far down the line I'm seeing that some of that will flip. So what he's proud about in March is his laying down of plans. But what's interesting is that I'm seeing these plans not really affecting the US, but specifically these are more like worldwide plans that affect the world. And I was seeing it especially affecting Asia and just like that area of the world around Asia, more so than anywhere else, and possibly China. And what's interesting about this is I actually was reading with a different psychic as well who was seeing their own thing and I was seeing my thing, and then at the end we compared notes and we saw very similar things. But what she was seeing was Joe Biden's son showing up with Joe Biden, and there being some sense of him wanting to be recognized as a father figure, and that being a big deal for him, and somehow being related to China. Of course, this is not what I was reading, but this is something that someone else was saying, and it was so similar to what I was saying that I thought I would include it here. And they were also saying that there was some sense of Kamala Harris pulling strings to kind of focus more on the UN. So that's not what I was reading. That's what someone else was reading. But I thought that really fell in line with what I was reading, so I thought I would share it. I mean, actually, everything she was saying fell in line with what I was reading, but that one in particular was interesting. So I wanted to share that. So now I was looking at the world, or the US, I should say, and just the energies of March. I was seeing the southeast area of the United States being kind of problematic, and there being this black energy around that is there's a lot of stagnation, like kind of like that stuck feeling is kind of still lingering a little bit in that area more than anywhere else in the US. And I was seeing money potentially being involved. I don't know if that's necessarily the main cause of what's going on, but I do see some financial issues being part of the issue. And just this overall disheartened feeling, and it having to do with failed plans. And one of the images that I was seeing that came to me was people missing the train, like a train going by and people missing the train, people battling over getting in line, like go up this tiny little single file staircase to get in the train. We're kind of rustling around trying to get up there, but only a select few were actually allowed on the train, and everyone else wasn't able to make it, is what I was seeing for March. For the northeast area of the United States, I was seeing that being much more stable, and I was seeing that as a gold frequency, which is much more like joyful, and a lot more forgiveness. And I was also seeing some white, which can mean positive things, but it can also mean people are kind of up in the clouds and not like really fully conscious and here. It can mean both of those things. So for the northwest of the United States, I was seeing a lot of mixed energies like blue and gold and white. And I would describe the overall gist of what's going on there in March will be excitement, movement, almost a sense of frenzy, and some people being slightly off balance because they're too excited. And the advice for people in that area that may be experiencing those energies is look before you leap. And look before you leap could really apply to something I'm going to be saying later about diving. So you'll know what I mean when I get there. Another thing that was coming up from March was I just saw Trump, and I don't always usually look for politicians in readings of, or monthly readings, but they're just showing up for March for some reason. But I was seeing Trump having serious setbacks and not doing so well, and just this sense of feeling crushed. Shouldn't make a lot of sense where he's at right now, but I do see him still holding on and continuing his business. I do see him having penalties, which I don't know if that means legal penalties or just penalties like companies no longer support him and he's just losing, his support um, financially through people boycotting him or whatever that may be. Some form of penalties, whatever that may be, I do see, but I don't really see him being severely punished. Like a lot of people talk about him going to jail, and I don't really particularly see that, at least not for March. Um, also heard, people talking about Joe Biden going to jail, and he didn't go to jail, as I said, and I don't think Trump will go to jail either. Left or the right, both have this idea. The other side's going to go to jail. I didn't see either of those particularly happening, although if someone was to go to jail, it would definitely be Trump. That's what I was seeing in the past, and seems to still be leaning that way. I do also see Donald Trump teaching his son how to do business. That's just what showed up. So, regardless of politics, let's clear that out. Ignore the politics. This is no longer about politics. This is about the overall energy of the month, regardless of who's in office. I'm seeing the energy for March 2021 really being about newness and this sense of new possibilities. Like almost like you can just do anything that you put your mind to. Maybe not anything, but like more so that way than it has been before. I think the previous months I had been saying that like those are good months to kind of come up with plans to set in motion. I'm seeing this March coming up here really being like where things really start to manifest more, where the possibilities start to open up to actually, the doors start opening. The possibilities become more clear. You can see the path to take now, or then, I should say. So when I asked what was good for March, I saw a picture of somebody diving off the high dive. And again, what was this where I was saying some part of the, or what did I say? I said, for the northwest of the United States, there could be some kind of frenzy type of energy. And so my advice, if you're experiencing that, was look before leaping. So while what March is good for is diving off the high dive and just going for it, if you're in that area experiencing that type of energy, you may want to look before you leap. But still leap, because that's apparently what March is good for. What's bad for March is being a scavenger. I saw this as a scavenger bird flying, I don't know what type of bird, but a scavenger bird of some sort, looking for scraps. And this represents like outdated scraps, things that are left over, things that are not your true dream or your true passion. You're just kind of like looking for like what's left over, oh, there's some of that. Maybe I can grab some of that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's like not what March is good for. What March is good for is really like big goals. Like, I don't want to say big goals because that sounds like business, and it's not really about business, although it could be about business, but it's more about dreams, like big dreams, I should say. Which leads me to the advice for the month. And the advice is follow your dreams, don't miss new opportunities. The reasoning for this is because obstacles move much more easily in March. The stuckness is starting to flow, so obstacles flow out of your way. And your fantasy world can become much more real in March. So, you can manifest your dreams much easier in March, is what I'm saying. It's a great month for fantasy and fulfilling your dreams and just going for it, I guess you could say. Well, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. If you want a private psychic reading, I have a website I will post below this video, so check that out. If you want a 1-hour reading, it's $70. If you want a half-hour reading, it is, what is it now, $40, I believe. It says it all on the website. I also have a Patreon where you can learn a lot of the stuff that I have found through my meditations, where I will teach kind of what I've found that helps me just be more aware of energy and kind of my epiphanies, etc., etc., so you can develop your psychic abilities as well. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.